The text notification came just as Daniel turned the key in the lock. "Don't call me." He froze, the door half open, his reflection staring back from the dark glass of the apartment's hallway mirror. Her words glowed on the screen like a wound, small, sharp, impossible to ignore. For a second he thought it was a joke, or maybe one of those half-angry, half-playful texts couples send after small arguments. But there was no emoji, no follow-up. Just those 3 words, clipped and cold. His thumb hovered over the keyboard, his chest tight. Then pride, that silent poison, whispered louder than love. He typed back, "Don't come home," and pressed send. 10 minutes later, the phone buzzed wildly, 20 missed calls in a row. He didn't answer a single one. Daniel sank onto the couch, the soft glow from the city flickering through the blinds. Outside, it was raining again, one of those soft, endless rains that seemed to wash everything but guilt. He stared at his phone until the battery gave up. When the screen went black, the silence felt heavier than before. He tried to convince himself she'd overreacted, that she'd cool off and come back. But deep down, something colder whispered, maybe this time she meant it. Her name was Maya, the kind of woman who filled a room even when she didn't speak. She'd been his anchor in the chaos of his job, the late-night deadlines, the startup stress. She was patient, until she wasn't. They'd been circling the same argument for weeks now, his absence, her loneliness, his ambition, her quiet need to be seen. That night, the rain kept falling. Daniel opened the fridge, stared at leftovers she'd cooked, and shut it again. He poured himself a drink instead. Every sip burned a little less than the silence. When morning came, her side of the bed was still empty. 2 days passed. No calls, no messages. He told himself she needed space. He told his friends she'd gone to her sister's. He told his heart to shut up. By the 3rd day, her mother called. "Daniel, is Maya with you?" The world tilted. "No," he said, voice cracking. "Why? She hasn't been to work. Her phone's off. We thought, maybe you knew." He hung up before panic could take shape. Hours later, her car was found on the bridge. Empty. Door unlocked. Her phone on the passenger seat, cracked screen still showing their last messages. The police called it inconclusive. Maybe she walked away. Maybe she slipped. Maybe she wanted to disappear. But Daniel knew the truth, or at least the kind that keeps you awake at night. Those 2 sentences had pushed her away, and 20 missed calls had tried to pull her back too late. Weeks passed in fragments, police reports, sleepless nights, the weight of guilt pressing like a storm he couldn't step out of. He stopped going to work. He stopped eating properly. He'd wake up to phantom vibrations, checking a phone that no longer rang. One night, about a month later, he went back to the bridge. The city lights shimmered below, and for the first time he noticed a small bench tucked near the railing. Flowers were placed there, fresh ones. A handwritten note was wedged between them. It read, "You're not the only one who waits here." Behind him, a soft voice said, "You too." He turned. A woman, maybe in her 60s, stood holding a thermos of coffee. Her eyes were kind, worn from years of both loss and understanding. Daniel nodded. "My girlfriend, we fought." He couldn't finish. The woman handed him a cup. "My son jumped from this bridge 8 years ago," she said quietly. He'd had a fight too. One text, one angry word. You'd be surprised how fast love can drown when pride holds it under. Daniel felt his throat tighten. "I don't even know if she's gone." "Then you have hope," the woman said. "Don't waste it." She left him with that sentence, and it became a rhythm in his mind. You have hope, don't waste it. He started volunteering at the bridge the following week. Every night he'd leave coffee for anyone who stopped there. Some came to grieve, some to think, some to end it. He listened. Sometimes he said nothing, just sat beside them until the night softened around their silence. In helping others, he found pieces of himself again. 3 months later, he got a letter. No return address, just his name on the envelope. Inside was a single page, wrinkled, water-stained, but unmistakably hers. "Daniel, I didn't jump. I ran. I needed to breathe where your voice couldn't reach. I stayed at a shelter for a while, then started helping others who couldn't go home. I saw the bridge on the news, the people you've helped. Maybe we both needed to lose each other to remember what love was supposed to mean, Maya." He read it over and over until the ink blurred with his tears. For a long time, he didn't try to find her. Something in the letter told him she wasn't asking to be found, just to be forgiven. But fate doesn't always wait for permission. 6 months later, he was hosting a community event for mental health awareness, the first of its kind in his area. Volunteers, survivors, counselors, they all came. He stood on stage, telling his story without naming names. He spoke about pride, words that cut too deep, and the strange way guilt can turn into grace if you let it. When the applause died down, he saw her at the back of the room. Maya, shorter hair, tired eyes, the same smile that once felt like home. He froze mid-sentence. The crowd blurred, the noise dissolved. She stepped forward slowly, like she wasn't sure if she should. When she finally stood in front of him, neither spoke. Then she whispered, "You answered the wrong message, Daniel." He frowned. "What do you mean? I said don't call me. I never said don't love me." Something inside him broke, not like glass shattering, but like ice melting. Slow, warm, inevitable. He wanted to apologize, to fall apart, to hold her and promise the world again. But she just took his hand and said, "Let's start with coffee." No promises, no past, just today. They sat outside under soft yellow lights, surrounded by people laughing, clinking cups, and sharing stories. It felt fragile, but real. Over time they didn't try to rebuild what they had, they built something new. Simpler, kinder, more honest. Daniel still worked at the bridge sometimes. Maya joined him, handing out coffee and warm words to strangers who looked like they'd given up. She never talked much about where she'd gone or how she'd healed. She didn't need to. One night, as they packed up, Daniel looked at the river below, the same water that once carried his fear away. He turned to her. "Do you ever think about that night?" Maya nodded softly. "Every time I see a missed call." He smiled faintly. 20 of them, right?" "Yeah," she said, gripping his hand. But one answer was enough. He looked at her, the city's light glinting off her eyes. "I still regret what I said." "Good," she said, smiling. "That means you remember what words can do." As they walked away, a young couple nearby was arguing, sharp, careless words flung into the night. Daniel paused, then approached them gently, handing each a paper cup of coffee. "Take a break," he said. "Words last longer than anger." They looked at him, puzzled but calmer. Maya watched, eyes soft with pride. That's how the movement began, the Bridge Project, where people could talk before they broke, call before they gave up, listen before they lost someone. It spread quietly through the city, then across others. No sponsors, no fame, just stories stitched together by empathy. Years later, an article appeared in a local newspaper. One man's guilt saved hundreds of lives. The Bridge Project now offers 24/7 emotional support to anyone standing at the edge, literal or otherwise. It began with a fight, a bridge, and 20 missed calls. Daniel cut out the clipping and placed it on their fridge. That night, as they watched the city lights from their apartment, Maya leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you think we would have found this peace without the pain?" she asked. He thought for a long time. Maybe not, but maybe the pain was just love that didn't know where to go yet. She smiled, eyes glistening. "Then I'm glad it found its way back." Outside, rain began to fall, gentle, endless, familiar. He reached for his phone and scrolled up to their very first messages. The old ones still hurt to read, but he didn't delete them. They were part of the map that led them here. As thunder rolled distantly, he whispered, half to her, half to the night, 20 missed calls couldn't undo 2 broken sentences, but they taught me how to listen before speaking. Maya kissed his hand and closed her eyes. That's all love ever asks for. And for the first time in a long while, the silence between them wasn't heavy, it was full.